What's up everyone, it's Bones here. In today's video, I'll be showing off the TCG version of the Bisted deck I showcased on my channel a couple of days ago. For the people who may not want to wait around to play this deck, or just people maybe bored of the current TCG decks and want something new to try, then I think that this is a perfect video for you. Now, I know that you may be wondering, how are you going to play a Bisted deck in the TCG without the Bisted cards? And the answer to that is pretty simple. You replace the Bisted cards with different engines, and you adjust the deck to synergize better with those engines. As I go along with the video, you'll see what I mean. But anyways, before I begin, if you could happen to click those thumbs up and subscribe buttons, it would be greatly appreciated, as it goes a long way in supporting the channel and shows me that you like content like this. So to start, my opponent is going to open up Right and Aqua Mantras along with the Ash Blossom, so he basically has full combo here. And unfortunately my only hand trap is Nib, and the crossout I can't do anything with this turn. So my opponent is going to special summon the Aqua, go into Hulk with the Ash and the Aqua, summon the Red Rose, go into Baron, then summon the Rocks Rose off the Red Rose, add Basil Shoot, then get the Aqua, or the Right off of Aqua, then go into Shooting Riser, send the Snow, get back the Red Rose with the Basil Shoot, and I'm going to use the Nib here kind of as a last-ditch effort. I know that it was not going to do anything, but if I could get an Imperm on my turn or a Droplet, then I would have been able to play through this board, as I had the crossout for the Droll, along with some extenders in Chaos Valkyria and summoning the Edge Imp Chain, which would grab me Patchwork and whatnot. So on to game 2, and I know that wasn't interactive, and I let my opponent go first here because I feel this deck is better at going second, even if it's against Adventure Punk Scythelock deck, as you have 3 Droplet, 3 Dark Rulers, 3 Imperms, you can draw double hand traps with like Valor and Nib and stuff, and there's just ways to break your opponent's board through Albaz and other cards. As you see that my opponent is going to scoop as soon as he sees the Chaos Ruler, because all he saw was the adventure stuff. But on to game 3, and this is the one replay of this match that makes this replay worth showing. And you're going to see the full capacity of what this deck can do going second, as my opponent is going to open Aqua, E-Telly, Anti-Spell, and he has Snow in the graveyard. So my opponent is going to have full combo here, and on top of that, when he goes into his Chaos Ruler, I think he's going to get Illusion of Chaos, in which that turns into Magician's Souls, and Magician's Souls will get him 2 draws because of the Fateful and the Draco back here. And you'll see that my opponent indeed does get the Illusion of Chaos, and he's going to get the Magician's Souls now, get the 2 draws, in which he's going to even get a hand trap in Ash Blossom. And now my opponent has Hot Red Abyss, Ash, Griffin, and Scythelock, and I'm going to use the first Imperm. He's going to negate with Griffin, then I'm going to use the second Imperm, and then I'm going to go to main phase 1 and normal summon Albaz because I have turn player priority. So I can use the effect to fuse it off as my opponent chains Snow, and I'm going to fuse off his Hulk to get the Mirror Jade, banish the Snow, and that puts my opponent on top deck mode, which my opponent currently, with just Scythe and Ash, actually had nothing he could go into. As you see, there's Dark, Selene, Unicorn, Appaloosa, Access Code, Herald, the Wonder Magician, the Shooting Riser, the Baron, and the Psychic and Punisher. So I'm going to attack for 1800, set the Patchwork. My follow-up is kind of insane here, as I have the Zeoman to get me into the Punk engine, and my opponent top decks Token Collector, which does absolutely nothing. And then he's going to search for the Right, which is when he realizes he's under Anti-Spell, and I have Gas for the next turn. So onto the second replay, and you'll see that I'm going to open Insane here. The problem is that I'm going against Ignister, and I'm going to make a slight misclick here where unfortunately I'm not going to get the snow off on the red, which I don't know, I didn't know at the time if it would make a difference or not, which also scared me too. So even when I misclicked, admittedly, I didn't think it would make that much of a difference, seeing as if he made an Ignister over 4,000, then, or at least 4,000, I would be done here because I took out access code, and you're going to see that I had a mental lapse and I'm going to activate the quick launch, thinking I could play through because I thought for a second that I did have the access code. With the TCG build, I was testing a couple of different things in the extra deck that are different to the Bisted version, but I ended up reverting back to the same extra deck. So on to game 2, and I think I blind second here as my opponent, or I pass. I think my opponent made me go second. I don't remember what happened. Or I went first actually, and I had to pass because of my hand. It was only good for going second, but I did have the nib, and I felt confident as long as I didn't see cross out or anything to stop it. And my opponent is going to draw the Ash Veiler, and he has an imperm. So my opponent is going to try to go for game here, and I think he kind of gets overconfident here really. But nib is going to not punish here, but it will punish eventually. As you see, I do imperm the access code, and then my opponent is going to go into the Wicked because I wanted him to get cards out of his hand. I knew that if I could get cards out of his hand, then I could win this, but I didn't see the Heat Soul coming, which is why I did not nib him. I felt it was actually better to save it for my turn. And I'm going to scare my opponent here with the Albaz, thinking that his Heat Soul was going to go, but you'll see that I'm going to use the Chimera, which will pop the Imperm and draw me too. So now I'm back in complete control in this game, as I'm able to even get the Collapse Serpent, as I didn't really need the Striker to resolve for the boot sector. So my opponent is going to get the Evenly here, which we both control 2 cards. I go into the Seals and I set the Droplet, so now I have Seals, Droplet, Nib, and I have Albaz and Mirror Jade if I were to go into that. But as you'll see, and I had the Snow. I'm going to Snow the Dojin right here, I forget the name of it, and he's going to summon the red, and then he's going to special summon the earth, go into infantry, he's going to add the yellow, then get the effect of Splash Mage, go into transcode, get back the Heat Soul, then I'm going to nib here because I knew that my Albaz or my Seals would resolve regardless, and then go into Albion, which would then get me the Mirror Jade. So, on to game 3, and as you'll see, I'm up against Anti-Spell again, but unfortunately for my opponent, it's not going to make that much of a difference. As you see, he did break, and I have the Quick Launch, which is going to get ashed, but then I do have the Ecclesia here, which this right here is almost like Yada locking my opponent. Had the Ecclesia resolved, I would have special summoned the Albaz, discarded the Polymerization, and then I would have gone into Mirror Jade, and if my opponent never tried to normal summon a monster that couldn't get him into another monster, I just had to banish with Mirror Jade, and with the hand traps, he just would have been kept at low cards for the remainder of the match. So onto the deck profile, you'll see that I've changed the Bisted stuff with the P.U.N.K engine, and we have 1 Foxy, 1 Zealman, 1 Deer, and 3 E-Tellies. And I know a lot of people do not like the 1-1-1, and personally when I first saw it, I didn't necessarily like it either, but in this deck, I felt like it was correct, because it is 60 cards, and the most important thing that you want to see is E-Telly. You don't necessarily want to see Deer Note, nor even Foxy, but the way I saw it, this was the only engine that realistically could probably trade with the Bisted stuff, because with the Bisted stuff, they're usually all live and playable either through your opponent or yourself. But with the P.U.N.K stuff, you do have the 3 E-Tellies, the 1 Xiamen, and if you open the Foxy with the E-Telly as well as the Deer Note, you can still get them onto the field and go for combo. And then the other change you'll notice from the Bisted deck, if you happen to see that, is that I took out the Allures of Darkness because we don't have as many dark monsters anymore, and I replaced them with Starliege Seyfert, and the reason for this is because it's a 1-card seals. You normal summon this, search black, then you go into Striker, add the white, and then you can just go into seals, and this gets you into your Albaz, Albaz gets you into your Mirror Jade, or your Albion or Lubellion, and that's kind of how you get into one of your engines. As you see, the rest of the deck is the same though, with the 1 Ecclesia, the 3 Albaz, the 3 Mercariers, and I'm going to explain the Mercariers here. The reason why they're still in the deck is because as a 3 of you do want to mill them with Chaos Ruler. It's kind of like the same logic with Wolf from the Lightsworn deck, where back in the day you wanted 3 Wolf to mill them the most even if it was a brick, but in this deck it's a little bit different than that. It's just almost synonymous. It's different because not only can it be a negate, but it's something that you really fuse away with through Patchwork and Poly, or it's a level 4 that you can go into Baguska with. I have thought of running Almirage so that if the hands come up where I open a Merc plus one of the Chaos monsters, I could immediately get a Chaos monster like that. But the thing is, I don't think it's necessarily worth it because there is no Link 1 for Chaos Valkyria, and Chaos Valkyria doesn't search. So you are basically depending on seeing Merc plus one of your babies. And in 60, I just didn't know how I felt about playing Almirage for those chances. Then you have the 2 Edgem Chains, the Chaos Trio, the 3 Rocket Tracers because you don't care about Rocket Synchron in this deck, the Recharger, the 1 Snow, the Albion, the 3 Nibirus, the 3 Ash, the 3 Veilers, the 1 Droll, the 1 Crow, the P.U.N.K engine, the 3 E-Tellies, the quick launches, the 3 Chaos Space, which Chaos Space and Mercarier, another reason why you play 3 Chaos Space, or 3 Mercarier, is because this is just combo. You're able to get white off the Chaos Space, sending the Merc, then the white banishes the Merc and adds Albaz, Ecclesia, or the Albion. So as you can see, this is already a pretty strong deck going second with all the hand traps that you have, along with the ability to randomly just get a Guardian Chimera on your opponent, or the ease that you can get Merc into the graveyard without normal summoning for you to end up using that normal summon on Albaz. Then you have the Boot Sector launch, the 1 Called By, the 3 Crossout, the 3 Patchworks, the 2 Polys, the 3 Droplets, and the 3 Imperms. And again, I wanted to maximize on as many going second cards as I could, because I feel like when you're playing a deck with Albaz, and that's more centered around bringing Albaz out, it's better to go second to kind of get that main phase 1 priority fusion, or you have all these going second cards here, along with baits like E-Telly and Quick Launch and Chaos Base, which can all trade with your opponent's negations. And then onto the side deck, you'll see the 1 Bell for Crossout, the 3 Token Collectors for Adventure, and the Sword Soul. Then you'll see the 3 Dark Rulers, the 1 Mystic Mine for Crossout, the 3 Twin Twisters, the 3 Evenlies, which might become Cosmic Cyclones, or Super Polys, I'm not sure yet, and then the 1 D-Barrier also for the Crossout. But anyways, to round out the deck profile, if you want to know what's the difference between playing this and Adventure Dragon Link, because that's probably going to come up a lot, seeing as the Bisted cards aren't here, and you're basically reverted back to playing Seyfert and the P.U.N.K engine. But what you do get out of this is just something different for the format, as I said earlier in this video, that isn't a bad deck in my opinion. I think that the ease you have to go into either your Mirror Jade or your Seals, Guardian Chimera going second with the plethora of going second cards that you have, cross out being able to cover multiple matchups that are meta relevant, like all the decks that run P.U.N.K or Dragon Link, or even if a Despia player tries to use Fallen of Albaz to fuse away with one of your monsters, you can cross that out. Or you can even cross out their Mercarrier. And you're also playing a deck that's more interactive than just a Scythe Lock deck. That was really the focus that I had with this deck, honestly. I felt like this format has been so dry with the D-Barrier and the Scythe Lock, and all this turn one stuff that's been running around lately, so I wanted to make something going second that stood a chance with a lot of explosive cards and hand traps to make my opponents truly fear something going into their game 2s and 3s, especially with the unpredictability of being able to go into Guardian Chimera or just make Seals to get you into Albaz. Onto the extra deck, you'll see the 1 Apo, the 1 Unicorn, the 1 Dark, the 1 Mask, the 1 Seals, the 1 Striker, the 1 Chaos Ruler, the 1 Bagu, the 2 Mirror Jade, the 1 Brigrin, the 1 Albion, the 1 Lubellion, the 2 Mirror Jade. So another noticeable thing that you'll notice is there's a P.U.N.K engine, but there's no Halker Scythe. And you would be absolutely right about that, because in this deck, if you were to play Hulk, you'd end up having to take up a lot of the room for the Albaz stuff, and if you did that, then why don't you just play the Adventure P.U.N.K Dragon deck? But yeah, those are basically my final thoughts on the deck. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and feel free to leave any suggestions down below. In the coming days, I'll be trying to work with some of the Ninja stuff that came out along with some of the new cards, but I can't promise anything, so don't get your hopes up. I'm definitely looking into it. Anyways, it's Bones, signing out.